A billboard showing the FBI's new push to find one of their most wanted fugitives, James Whitey Bulger. He's linked to 19 deaths and has eluded authorities since 1995. He's said to be the inspiration for Jack Nicholson's role in The Departed.
Do you know who I am?
The FBI says it's gotten thousands of leads throughout the last 16 years, but to no avail. And now that Bulger is 81, the agency says it's time to reshift its focus onto locating Bulger's 60-year-old girlfriend, Catherine Grieg.
These photos are from the early 1990s. Grieg has had plastic surgeries. She is wanted for harboring James Whitey Bulger, a fugitive on the FBI's 10 most wanted list.
The FBI is running these ads during the daytime in U.S. cities where the couple is believed to have links. They're hoping someone will recognize Grieg.
We feel, as a task force and as an agency, that it's a good time to focus on her and really target the audience, the daytime audience, that will give us those tips and leads and really specific tips on her, which will connect to him.
In 2007, the FBI thought this might be Bulger and Grieg in Sicily, but said facial recognition was inconclusive. FBI agents believe the couple has been able to stay under the radar by stashing cash in cities around the world. As to how Bulger's eluded authorities for so long, one author says there's no lack of speculation tied to Bulger's past as an FBI informant.
You know, a lot of people think in Boston that the FBI wants to make sure that Whitey's never caught because he knows so much about the FBI. But I think that most of the people that he associated with and that he bribed and corrupted in the Boston office of the FBI, they're either dead, they're in prison, or they're retired and have cut some kind of immunity deals. And the people who are in the FBI office now in Boston would love nothing better than to bring in Whitey. It would be the ultimate scalp.
In the US, a notorious gangster who was one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives for 16 years has been found dead in a prison in West Virginia shortly after being moved there. James Whitey Bulger was serving a life sentence for a series of crimes, including 11 murders. Live to Washington, and our US correspondent Cordelia Lynch. And Cordelia, he was so infamous he inspired several films.
That's right. He inspired the film The Departed. His character, played by Jack Nicholson, he was once one of the FBI's most wanted fugitive with $2 million on his head, and he was on the run for 16 years. Eventually, the authorities did catch up with him in 2011. He was found alongside his girlfriend in Santa Monica in California, and as you say, he'd been serving a life sentence. He'd actually only just been transferred to Hazleton Penitentiary in West Virginia from a Florida jail. So this extraordinary news today. He'd been convicted of a string of offences, including racketeering. He ran one of Boston's most infamous criminal enterprises in the 1970s and 1980s, and he had been convicted of being connected with 11 murders. So James Whitey Bulger, a very familiar name here in the United States. The Justice Department recently confirmed to Sky News that he had been found unresponsive inside the jail, but no more details were provided. The head of the union inside of that prison did not confirm the death of James Whitey Bulger, but did say that a homicide had occurred this morning at 8:20 a.m. and that it was one of 3 in the past 7 months. Now, this is a high security facility housing around 1,000 inmates. James Whitey Bulger, one of those, but now confirmed by the Justice Department that he has died.
Presumably there would be many within the prison system who would be out to get him.
That's right, and in fact there is a lot of talk now of the advice he was given to remain on the run, something of course he did successfully for more than a decade, and there will have been those with plenty of grudges against James Whitey Bulger. He carried on with a narrative of a Robin Hood-like character who was also protecting and keeping crime away from South Boston. He was also famously an FBI informant, and there was lots of criticism of the FBI at the time that they allowed him to continue to carry out these crimes and to go unpunished. But of course he leaves a network of people that will have felt slighted by him.
Did this convicted hitman take out mob boss Whitey Bulger? Freddie Gias has been named as one of 4 inmates who beat Bulger to death in his prison cell with a padlock inside a sock, according to a published report. The beating was so savage, 89-year-old Bulger was unrecognizable when his body was found. It's believed he had a target on his back because he'd been exposed as an FBI informer. Freddie hated rats, one source says. He's serving life for a gangland slaying and reportedly didn't dispute his role in Bulger's killing.
Whitey became a sellout, and he paid the price for that.
Larry Levine of Wall Street Prison Consultants served 10 years in federal prison.
The inmates know what time the doors open. The inmates knew what cell he was in. So the locks open on the doors. Boom. They rush in. They take care of business.
Joe Berlinger directed a Whitey Bulger documentary.
When I heard he had been killed in prison, I thought that, at least there's some measure of justice for some of the victims' families.
Hey. Patricia Donahue, the widow of a Whitey Bulger victim from Boston, and her son Thomas were so happy to learn of Bulger's slaying, they celebrated with a bottle of champagne.
To Dad, and no more Bulger.